Really, really honored to introduce Michelle and Angel, Connor, Richie, and Zach. So Michelle, I want to start with you. What got you into this space? And if you can just share with everyone like exactly what you do. And yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah, thank you so much. But it's very, very important that your story doesn't define who you are, and that you are able to use your story to then make a difference. So I'm a global breakthrough specialist. I help people tell their stories through course content and creation, public speaking, and also book publishing. And my main cause and where my heart lies is I run a nonprofit organization called the Unsilenced Voices, combating domestic violence and human trafficking. The bulk of our programming is in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and we are looking to expand and grow. It's interesting, I went through an extreme tragedy in my life, and because of going through something so horrific, it propelled me to do something even more. So I want anybody who's in this room who's ever experienced any type of adversity to know that that does not define you, and that you can do something with that story and make an even greater impact.
Yes, give it up for that, for sure. And I do want to say that when we can move kids and teens from a place of pain to purpose, I really think that that's how we empower these kids to get out of the victim mentality that they have, to have the recognition and awareness that the pain and the stories that they've gone through and all of that is actually exactly what the world needs, right? Their story and and they need somebody to believe in them. So that's amazing. Cool. So let's go down to Angel. Angel, you host, you help people get on podcasts. You have a network of 40,000 hosts. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about like the impact that you want to make and what inspired you to be in this space.
Do you ever have somebody believe in you more than you believed in yourself? Right? They saw something in you before you saw it in yourself. And I've had several people in my life that have done that for me, that they've seen something in me, and I walked through that door and I said, yes, today I get to do that for other people. I call myself a media matchmaker because somebody else gave me that title. I love building relationships. I love connecting people. When I meet somebody, I just have this connection. I'm like, oh, I know exactly the podcast you should be on. I know exactly who you should be introduced to. I know exactly the perfect stage for you. And my brain just loves to play matchmaker. And the thing is, we're all making an impact, with it, whether it's in our family, in our community, in our church. But the key is, the world needs your story. And we need to share it more often and in front of more people, because there are people that are dying, they're crying to hear what it is that you're doing, how you can help them, to inspire them, to bring light into the darkness. And so 2 years ago, I started a brand new Facebook group because people were always coming to me saying, Angela, I need a guest. I'm like, oh, you should have Michelle, you should have Alex, you should have Richie, like I can connect those dots for you. And so I started this Facebook group really just under the idea that maybe I could connect a few people together. And I didn't know at the time the impact that that was going to take and make. And in the last 2 years, that group has grown from 10,000 people to 40,000 people. And the network is now over 60,000 people. But it was because I trusted my instinct. I stepped in and I had faith and I took action. And every day I wake up thinking, who can I connect? How can I make an impact? And now sitting in this audience this weekend, I've thought, how can I serve my country even greater? How can I serve my God even greater? And so I thought I was making an impact, but I walked into this room and I'm walking out going, how can I make an even bigger impact?
Amazing. Wow. Give it up for her. So Connor is a really inspiring young man. I got a chance to just talk with him and his mother in the back. Connor, can you share a little bit of your story of how you started to create the microgreens and everything about health, like how you're trying to serve the world?
Of course, and thank you so much. I'm honored to be up here. So for me, how I started my business, I've had a lot of health challenges throughout my life. And when I was 7, it got to be to the point where I couldn't get out the door. I could barely wear clothes. I did a thermography scan, which shows the inflammation in my body, and I was worse than any adult they had ever seen. They thought I had cancer. So I had to change things. I went on a gut repair diet and started growing microgreens. I took on that saying of let food be thy medicine. And when I did that, 8 months later, I did that same thermography scan, and it was night and day. It changed my life. So when COVID hit and the produce got super funky, that's when I realized that I needed to share what has inspired me and healed me with the world. And so I created my first business when I was 14. Thank you.
Richie, I've known you for a little bit now, and you want to empower other business owners. So can you talk a little bit about your journey and how did it lead you to wanting to empower people? Like, you first had your business, right? Your business is doing well, and then what naturally into service?
So yeah, I started my business. I've been in the roofing industry pretty much my whole life, and over 30 years now. Had my business, went into debt like real bad my first year in business, and then I was able to get out of debt by hiring some coaches and mentors to help me grow and create systems and processes and all these different things that you need in business to be able to regulate and see what's going on in your business. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you can get this business, if you're at $1 or $3 million a year and you set up a system in your business, when you go to like 7 or 10 million, that system's gonna break and you gotta do it again. So if you're in business and you feel like, you get to the next level and it's always gonna, you're always breaking shit in business, and you just gotta keep on moving and trying to figure out the next step to get in to the next level. It's like video games. You got to get to the next level. You got to beat the boss, and you got to keep on going. So what happened was I finally got out of the debt, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna rest on my laurels. I got money in the bank. I bought the house on my dreams. I had the wife of my dreams. I got the kids, everything I wanted. I had time. I had money. Usually you don't get those two things in one spot. But I had it. And then all of a sudden I started getting kind of miserable, right? And I couldn't figure out why I was miserable. I had money, I had time, I had everything I wanted. I didn't have to look at my bank statement when I was in line at Sam's to go shopping or anything like that. But what I figured out that I wasn't doing anything to help anybody else out. So that really started hitting me hard. And then the more I started to help other people do things and grow, the better I felt. So then it became like a drug. Right? And I know how that feels because I did a lot of drugs back in the day, and I knew that progression of the feeling. And then I started helping more people, and the more I helped people that worked for me intermittently, the better I felt all the time. So then I started reaching out. I said, well, damn, I need more people because all these people are starting to get their shit together. Right? So when all my people started buying houses and trucks and everything else, then I had to find more people. Then it moved from people that worked for me that I found to other businesses. So when I started seeing other businesses struggling, because I figured I can't be the only one that went through this kind of struggle. So I started seeking out other people that were having troubles and figuring out what it was. And from the outside looking in, you can look at somebody else's business and you can see clearly what's wrong. And you're able to fix it. Now, you can't always do that in your own business, and I'm going through that stuff myself now, and I go through it constantly. Sometimes you can't see your own stuff, and I have to call Bill and say, hey, I got a problem here, what do I got to do? And Bill's like, do this, this, and this, and it's just so simple. So I started helping other people grow their, fix their businesses or grow their businesses, and then that is where I started, getting into coaching and stuff like that and helping other people grow and scale.
Awesome, thank you. Zach, I'm excited to ask Zach some questions because he's also known as Vanilla Rice.
Rice, baby.
And he owns Vanilla Rice Hibachi, and he's a successful restaurant owner. I owned 2 restaurants before, and has anybody in here been in the restaurant industry, worked, or it's like something that I don't wish upon anybody, And so I have this belief around it. And so I would love to just hear your story. How did you become successful in this game? And I think part of it, this passion is involved in this.
Super blessed to be here, super appreciative. I'll tell you what, I never thought I'd be on a stage like this. I'm super blessed, and I'm just happy to be here. So thank you so much for throwing this event. Vanilla Rice was not Vanilla Rice about 13 years ago. Started out was failing school, had to pick up some summer school classes, and like every good mom, does, she's like, well, you're gonna, get a summer job, pay for summer school, and mind you, my mom's a school teacher, so her kid was graduating school, She did not want to be the school teacher that's kid was not walking. And got a job at the local hibachi restaurant, teppanyaki restaurant, where imagine, walking in back there, a little 15-year-old white kid walking in there with everybody that speaks Spanish. And I'm walking into an entirely new world, right? And so that, started washing dishes. And in the time, parents are dropping me off. I'm doing summer school. I didn't really have a summer for any year throughout high school. Unfortunately, my dad had passed away when I was about 16 years old. And so this, this spare income this spare money to pay for summer school actually turned into a second stream of income for the household, right? I'm going to school and talking to kids and asking, I'm like, hey, you guys don't pay your own health insurance? You guys don't pay your own phone bill? They're like, no, we don't do that. And so, I had to grow up really fast and pick up these extra bills and stuff that my mom couldn't pay for me anymore. And to make the story very, short and fast, that turned into, I saw everybody getting raises. I heard of a raise. I'm 15 years old. Everyone's getting raises. I'm like, hey, I want a raise. How do I get a raise? And my boss at the time looks me in the eyes and says, hey, boss, I want a raise. I think I'm number one dishwasher here. And he looks at me, he goes, Zach, dishwashers don't get raises. And it was that moment where I was like, well, what the hell do I do? And so, basically taught me a big valuable lesson. Like, you just need to keep adding value to the restaurant. So I was like, okay, well, if dishwashers don't get raises, what do I have to do to get one? And that turned into learning how to, prep vegetables and cut proteins and scrub the grills for the hibachi chefs and set up their carts. And one thing led to another. And next thing you know, I'm cooking at 17 years old. I'm doing hibachi tables for people. I'm allowed to say it now, I'm taking sake shots with people and stuff like that, at 17 at the hibachi grill. And, it was just always wanting more, I slowly transitioned into, food truck to restaurant to brick and mortar and all that stuff. And, I'm sitting there going, is my purpose food? Is my purpose food? I tried to get into all these different businesses, but for some reason, I just kept waking up every single day and chasing food. And you know what I actually realized is my purpose on life isn't just food. My purpose on life is to inspire people.
Awesome. That's amazing. To make it in the food industry is extremely tough. So I mean, at least for me, that's my story, I guess. But I want to come back and I guess ask all of you guys, what was your biggest inspiration and who mentored you or who inspired you to step into the space that you're in today?
When I went through my experience, I was bartending. So restaurant industry. I spent 16 years in the restaurant industry bartending.
Whoa.
And I was literally pouring Jack and Cokes, and I felt called to do something more. I felt like God was calling me to do something with my story, and he kept opening doors for me. You see, if you tell God yes, he will open the right doors. And my first door was with Bill Walsh, and I ended up working with Bill Walsh through Rainmaker and through Platinum Speaker Camp and started speaking on stages, and then the doors continued to open. But it was because I decided to say yes. And that's something of encouragement that I want you all to take away. Look around you, see who's with you, see who's next to you. They can help you. Use your voice, speak up, and say yes.
All right, so who inspired me?
Who or what inspired you?
What inspired you? So my dad was in the Navy. I traveled around a lot. I never, if I started a school year, I didn't finish it because we moved. Or if I was finishing, I was super shy. I didn't have any friends. I was always like the new girl. I wasn't ever, I didn't have any long-term friends. I was super, super shy, totally introverted. And so when you think about, what am I going to do? What kind of position? how am I going to make an impact? I am super, super shy. I almost didn't graduate high school because I was so nervous for public speaking, to stand in front of my peers and tell them how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so the fact that I started a podcast, right, in 2006, something I could do from home, in a basement with a microphone, and my podcast got discovered by my local radio station. So with no background in broadcasting, no background in journalism, I was invited. So I wrote a book called Get Discovered. It's not just a clever title, it's my story. I got discovered. I was invited to come in and do a daily radio talk show. And I was an unknown in the space. I ended up with a 10-year career in broadcasting. When I left broadcasting, I was hosting 4 hours of talk radio every day. I was in the top 1% of broadcasters. There are less than a dozen women who host 4 hours of talk radio every day. I was sitting in a windowless cubicle when I met Bill Walsh, and Bill says, we need more women to speak on stages. I would end up on many panels, many places where there were tons of women in the room, but very few women speaking on stages. And Bill opened up an opportunity, took this little girl who was completely afraid of public speaking. I went and spoke on 100 stages in my first year, 1 foot completely terrified, but the other foot completely excited and on fire for the mission that God had gave me. Your voice matters. The more impact, if we can get you booked on more podcasts, more stages, you create influence. Your story matters. And if we're not sharing it and we're not getting that story out every single week in front of another audience, so borrow OPP, other people's podcasts, get booked on podcasts. OPP. I want to say that it was my mom who doesn't have a career. She was a stay-at-home mom. She was a Navy wife. My dad left us for months at a time to go and be on a ship. She is my hero, and she inspires me every day. But when you ask my mom, what do I do? She's like, well, she talks about business. I'm like, Mom, I have been the sole provider, breadwinner for my family for the last 7 years. I run a podcast network community, but because I don't leave and go to an office, my mom doesn't think I run a business. And so every day I get up to motivate and inspire that woman to help her to become more proud of me every single day, because she has just done an amazing job.
Awesome.
So raise your hand if you've ever heard, you should get a real job. I know I have. I was in a small town in Florida, and that was what I heard all the time. When I met Bill, he was the first person who sat down and talked with me, thought of me as a real business, and having someone believe in me like that was so impactful and so powerful. And he supported me ever since. And he gave me that opportunity to talk with Todd. Todd Alt has been so supportive of me and has inspired me to go past my comfort zone. And today, right now, what he's been inspiring me to do is launch my own product that is a unicorn out there. It's reptile microgreens.
All right, Richie, go ahead.
So who do I want to be when I grow up? Well, that's easy. Bill Walsh. So most of us, you could tell who put this panel together, right? No, I've had many mentors in my life, and when I met Bill, it kind of opened up a whole nother avenue. Like, these other guys charge me to teach me and everything. Bill charges me. Nothing's for free. But he has introduced me to people who change my business every time I'm with them. So I try to invest at least 3 to 5 days every month. Bill Walsh has been a real instrumental person in my life to help me grow and get past and put me on stages. And I've been over 50 stages in the last year. And I can't thank him enough for, helping me create impact to the world.
Amazing.
So it's moments like when I was cooking hibachi, I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in my life and try to take the next journey. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with Seven Hills, Anthem area out here. It's a very, wealthier part of town, and that's where I worked at. And little did I know, this whole time I'm cooking every Saturday for this guy that actually spoke yesterday named Brad Lee. I didn't even know who the guy was. I just know he's like, yeah, medium rare, and then just on his phone, right? And one day, I'm getting into personal development and stuff like that. I'm starting to listen to, watch videos, YouTube videos, and I'm watching actually a Grant Cardone video, and he's like, man, I'm about to go kick it with my boys in Vegas. And he gets off the jet, and the first guy I see on the video is this guy I just cooked for yesterday and his family. And I'm like, wait, I know that guy. I'm like, I just cooked for him 2 days ago. And so, I see him a couple days later, and I go, hey, man, I saw you on a Grant Cardone video. And he goes, no, you saw Grant Cardone on my video.
Nice.
And he would come to hibachi, and he would just, it's a Tuesday, eating hibachi, he's spending some money and slapping his Rolls Royce keys on the table, kicking back, acting like nothing's going on. And I would sit there and be like, who is this guy? What do you do? And it's moments like that. And I just actually catered to him 2 weeks ago, and I told him the same exact story, that, him putting his Rolls Royce key on the table is something that really inspired me, him and, other guests as well. And it's funny because he pulled his brand new Rolls Royce key out, slaps on the table and goes, we're going to do it again.
So one of the, yes, Bradley, Zach. So one of the things I think in common that everybody has here is everyone is inspired to serve, right? And in service, like, you either find your passion or you find your purpose in your business, and it helps you carry that forward. 5, 6 words of just something you want to share with the audience if you guys didn't get a chance to.
The R in Risk On, relationship, relationship, relationship. Just meet people, shake their hands, open doors, do business, but nurture those relationships.
I would just say get booked on podcasts, share your story. The world needs it.
Amazing.
With every challenge comes a seed of equal or greater opportunity. It's a seed. You have to water it.
There you go. Mic drop.
Serve water at the table until you get a seat there.
Proximity.
Don't ever give up. That job you had before you started that business, you can always go back to that.
Okay, amazing. So give it up for the panelists.